Hello and welcome to the Formula One Austrian Grand Prix. I'm not going to choose my McLaren, I am going to pull out the Mercedes. It's time. And I'm not going to choose Lewis Hamilton. I've had so much trouble with Valtteri Bottas's name that it's time for me to choose him. Even though I still think it's kind of a Bottas if you listen to him say it, but that's okay. Bottas, Valtteri, whatever. Here we go. I'm really happy to be choosing him because I like him. And I'm looking forward to driving this Mercedes. Now this event is recommended PR. Only have to buy tuning if you want to or you need to. Now if you're a prior watcher of my videos, you know that in this type of event, we want to do bot management and bot slowing to try to keep the targets low. So this is an average speed race. It doesn't say where I have to finish the race. So I'm gonna turn around and bank some more average speed. So if you're new to my channel, the reason why we do this is every time you finish in the top 3, the next race is going to get a little bit harder. And if you win by a really big margin, so like if you win by like 500 meters or 1,000 meters or 1,000 yards, it's going to get even harder. So to combat that, you lose, and you lose by a lot. So for instance, in any series, like right now in the NASCAR series, the Indy Speedway and Daytona Speedway races in the 2020 season are very hard to beat unless you spend a pile of gold on top of tuning. I'm not going to do that. So I go and I lose the autocross in Tier 9 20 times, and then the other races are easy. So, same principle applies here. All I need to do is meet the average speed requirement. It doesn't matter where I finish the race. So that's why I drove backwards for a little bit. You can't just stop or you won't meet the minimum required average speed. And that's about it. Now I've driven this track a lot in other cars. I've never driven it in the current 2019 or 2020 Formula One cars. I have driven it in the pre-2019 open wheel style cars, but those are completely different to these cars. Completely different handling, way harder to control. So I'm gonna have to learn the braking points a little bit and kind of figure this out as I go along. There we go, first race in the bank. Now in this one it says we've got to just drive within 100 feet of a car for 30 seconds. Now what I don't know is, will the race end as soon as I meet the requirement, or will it go the full lap? And that's important because if the race ends and it gives me first place, I'm guessing a lap here is going to be, I don't know, maybe a minute 10 in these cars. So if it suddenly says I finished this event in 30 seconds, I'm going to have my opponents get harder in the next race. So I'm going to be careful here. I'm not going to do all my banking right away. So I'm going to get a lot in, and then I'm just going to hang back for a little bit and try to not get it all done right away. Now, it could be completely wrong. It could be that this race ends only when I cross the start-finish line. But we know very well from recent Grand Prix events that sometimes the stage ends the second you meet the requirements. So I'm just going to have to play it by ear. Oops, I caught up to him way too fast. I purposely drove off track because I was not expecting to catch him so fast. Currently, these bots are really bad, and that's fine. I want to keep it that way as long as I can. One other thing that you may not know about bot slowing and bot management, those are two different terms. Let's just look at bot slowing right now. You can only do bot slowing when you are at or above the PR that's recommended. Once you get below the recommended PR, all you can do is bot management. So that's where you're trying to keep the difficulty level where it is, not getting harder and harder. There's nothing you can do about difficult bots if you are below recommended PR, okay? That's a very important thing to realize. That's why we got to get so much of it in now. All right, overtake 4 cars in the next 2 laps. Now again, what's gonna happen? Will the race end as soon as I overtake 4 cars? Maybe not, because the last race didn't. In that last race, I had to get all the way to the end for it to finish. So maybe this time I'll just pass those 4 cars right away, because maybe they're doing things different in the Austrian Grand Prix. Hard to say. Now there's 2 different versions of Red Bull Ring in Real Racing 3. This is the Grand Prix version, and maybe that's all we're gonna see. This is the version I prefer, actually. The other version is fine too, but I like this version. It's got a nice flow to it. kind of a fun track. And there's lots of braking markers on this track, so it's not really hard once you figure out where your braking markers are. It's not hard to nail them every lap because there's so many markers on the track. Wow, Charles Leclerc, he's still driving. He's driving quite slow. Again, that's what we expect for stage 1, and I'd like to keep it that way as long as possible. And Vettel. Oh, I think I said that right that time. I made a big mistake of saying Vettel, and oh my goodness, that's really bad. Oh, nuts! It ended right there. I don't want to do a restore. So here's the problem. I basically just did a 2-lap race in 58 seconds. That's a problem. Oh well. Going forward, moving on. The advantage of me doing this is you get to learn from my mistakes. Now this one clearly said we need to finish in first place. Okay. Well, there's another way to do bot management and bot slowing even when you have to finish in first place. And that is to make the race take longer. And you could either get in front of someone and just really slow them down, but that's not necessarily all that much fun. So how about I dump Hamilton? Oh, that didn't quite work. I was going to do a bump pass. Well, I'll just do the pit maneuver. Sorry, Hamilton. Been teammates for a while now, and I'm kind of done being second fiddle. I'm going to be winning. All right. Oh boy, these tires are degrading very fast. When you have a tire degradation stage like this, if you skid, if you lose traction, your tires will degrade way faster. So we'll just see what this is like. I'm going to keep on wrecking people, letting them get beside me, and ooh, come on, really? You're going to try to pit me? Wow, that's just not very nice. Goodbye, Mr. Red Bull. Hey, there we go. I bullied the Red Bull at Red Bull Ring, ha ha ha. I'm not going to do too much of this. It gets a little bit boring, but here, you're seeing how the pit maneuver works if you don't do that. You want to get into as far back as you can. The further back you hit a car when you pit him, the less force it takes. So if you're just at the very back edge of someone's tire or the rear quarter panel of a car, you just need a very light turn. If you back off the gas when you do it, you actually won't get any damage at all. This round I don't care. And the other very important thing for bot management is win with a very small lead. So that's why I pulled him in. Didn't want to win by a lot. That's going to wrap up stage 1. I'm going to put a playlist link here once I create it. Thank you for joining me today. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe.